Hello, everybody. We will get started shortly. We're just waiting for everyone to join. So good evening, everybody, or good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Apologies for a bit of a late start. We're having a few technical issues, so we're waiting on McGill to join. So I will get started. And so welcome to this webinar about studying in Canada. My name is Martine Gagnon. I am a college counsellor with UES Education based in London in the UK, but I am originally Canadian myself, so it is an absolute pleasure to be organising this tonight. I've got my little Canadian flag here. I've got my Canadian flag on screen. So let's go. So before I introduce our panelists to you and give them some time to speak about their institutions, I'm just going to talk very briefly about education in Canada. So some of the things that we often kind of get asked is, why are Canadian universities unique? And of course, I'm slightly biased. I think Canada is a pretty great country. So I always kind of mention some of these really important aspects about Canada. And it's a world-renowned education system. Canada has a very high level of education, and it's very well recognized no matter where you go. Afterwards, of course, we have very cosmopolitan cities, and we're very lucky to have 3 of those cities represented tonight with Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto. So, and not only that, but these 3 cities feature in all of these different rankings of, best student cities in the world. So you'll find that, these are 3 Canadian cities that that tend to rank quite highly. So I know that for those of you interested in studying in America, we often talk about fit. Well, that is valid in Canada as well. But really what you're going to be looking at is, of course, studying on the West Coast is going to be very different from the East Coast. So it's quite important to really figure out where you'll be at your best. Unrivaled scenery and varied climate. I had very good time searching through all of these beautiful images of Canada, and I tried to select my favorite ones. So yeah, of course, varied climate, everything from, the Arctic to the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic to the Great Lakes. Canada is pretty incredible if you're interested in the great outdoors. Multicultural society, bilingualism as well. I mean, it's just wonderful. Canada is so varied in that sense, and most of our cities are as well. For those of you who are interested, for example, in a second language, then of course, you might be able to find that in Montreal or in Quebec City. But of course, French is everywhere and is part of the entire tapestry of our country. So high quality of life, very safe as well in Canada. Post-study work visas are available for students once they've obtained a degree from a Canadian university. Co-op programs, which are when students can work and study at the same time. some lower costs and scholarships available, which I'm sure my colleagues will discuss a little bit later, and some fantastic support systems. So hopefully I've kind of waxed lyrical enough here about how wonderful I think higher education in Canada can be. So any further resources, EduCanada is a fantastic website. They have tons of great articles there with resources and links directly to a variety of Canadian institutions. We at UES maintain a blog as well, and so we have lots of resources about universities in Canada and internationally as well. Talk Education recently published one of an article about studying in Canada, and of course, Canada.ca, where everything begins, the government's website, and that's also where students can find information, for example, about visas that you would need to study in Canada if you don't have a Canadian passport. So I will introduce our panelists. Let me just see. So we're still waiting for our panelist for McGill. But I will get started with the University of British Columbia, and we have Nadia Siskova with us, who's going to tell us a little bit more about UBC in Vancouver in the Okanagan Valley, I believe.
Yes, thank you so much, Martin. Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's a Monday evening for you. It's 9 a.m. and 12 minutes here in Vancouver campus. So let me share my screen, and I will be happy to tell you a little bit more about West Coast lifestyle and studying at UBC. So I'm one of the managers for the global recruitment team here on the Vancouver campus. As Martin mentioned, we have two. We have one in Vancouver campus and the other one in Okanagan. So during today's presentation, I am going to tell you a little bit more about our locations, because when you choose an institution, as your wonderful counselor mentioned, it is very important to think not only about the programs of study, of course that's important, but also where you're going to spend 4, maybe even 5 years of your time during your undergraduate degree. At UBC, we have a unique balance of 3 great things. We are highly ranked. We are located in 2 amazing places. I will show you the videos so you can make judgment for yourself. And we also encourage students to learn actively, which means that we encourage those co-ops that Martin mentioned. We encourage students to participate in research, join clubs, athletic teams, go abroad on an exchange. So all of this can be part of your experience. All right, so let's begin with the academic rankings. We are ranked in the top 40 research institutions in the world. Just for reference, there are over 25,000 universities in the world. We're always in the top 3 in Canada, together with my wonderful colleagues, U of T and McGill. I feel like we rule the roost here in Canada, so to say. There are quite a few areas of study where we rank highly. This is not a full list. I just wanted to show you some of those disciplines to show the range, that it's anything from psychology to environmental sciences, from engineering to social sciences and management. There is a wide range of programs you can choose from. We are also proud to rank super highly in our sustainability efforts. Just to give you one example, in Vancouver campus, it's a pretty wet climate here. So we use rainwater that we harvest through the roof of our huge Olympic-sized swimming pool that is here right on campus in Vancouver to replenish the water in the pool. And that saves us almost 3 million liters of water annually. This is just one of our sustainability efforts. If you come to UBC, you will see quite a fean different other things happening. And the last statistics I want to share here is that we're the most international university in North America. Again, as Martin mentioned at the very beginning, Vancouver is a very cosmopolitan city, so is Toronto. In McGill, you will also see the same thing in Montreal. So if you come to UBC, you will study in a community of multicultural, in a very multicultural community. It helps you build your own community. If you want to find friends from all over the world, that's definitely the place to be. Our alumni work all over the world. The fact that you study in Canada doesn't mean that you absolutely have to stay here. You can, if you want to, you can get this post-graduation work permit. But as this map shows, our alumni are everywhere. This is just again, a few examples to see that, here is Angela from Indonesia, now working in Germany, John from Turkey, now working and living in England. This can be you in the future. You have opportunities to work in many places. The next thing that we are known for is our location. West Coast, the Pacific Ocean, the climate is very nice and mild. Honestly, before I came to Canada, I was a student here myself. I did not think, I couldn't imagine that this is how Canada can look. In my mind, it was cold all the time, snowing, people play hockey, maple syrup, I've heard about that. But when I came to British Columbia, I was pleasantly surprised that this is how actually Canada can look as well. So 2 of our campuses are different in terms of the size and the fit. Again, Martin mentioned this, that fit is very important. I will walk you through both of them, and hopefully by the end of this presentation, you have a better sense whether this is the right fit for you. Before I move on to our campuses, one of the things you will always see when you come, if you come to UBC, is that we always do land acknowledgement. So I would like to acknowledge that our Vancouver campus is located on the traditional unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam people. And I also acknowledge the Syilx Okanagan Nation, where our Okanagan campus is located. So let's start with Okanagan. A smaller city in the interior of Canada, province of British Columbia, spectacular climate, spectacular views, as you can see. You will get 4 seasons in Kelowna. It gets really hot in the summertime, plus 35 Celsius. You get snow in the winter. So it's a smaller city, but it has a very nice vibe to it. Culture is interesting in terms of, like, in the summertime, you can see, you can attend a lot of music festivals. Kelowna is a very popular tourist destination because, as you can tell, summers are spectacular. All kinds of outdoor activities, from skiing and snowboarding in the wintertime to water sports and summer activities, obviously, in the summertime. Our Okanagan campus has roughly 10, almost 11,000 students. It's a small city, student city, everything is there, but you're very close to downtown. Kelowna, about 20 minutes. So if you're looking for a university experience where you will live on campus, everything is there, but you want a little bit of a close-knit community, this is a great place to be. You will still have access to all the resources that a large institution offers to you, but in a nicer, smaller setting, so to say. And now a flight away from Kelowna campus is our Vancouver campus. That's our first campus, large. One of the things that Vancouver is known for is that it usually ranks in the top 3 in the world for the quality of life. Climate would be slightly different. As I mentioned at the very beginning, it can get wet here. It does rain. But at the same time, it never gets either super hot or super cold. So there is this median climate, median temperature throughout the year. Culture scene is great. Vancouver International Film Festival is one of the highlights, I would say, personally for me. I like movies. If you're an outdoorsy person, you will absolutely enjoy this wonderful pace of life here. You can go from a skiing slope to the beach in one day. So it's a large city with opportunities of a large city, but at the same time, it's very, very safe. This is our campus in Vancouver. It's much larger than in Okanagan. Similar idea. Everything is on campus, from a swimming pool to baseball fields, soccer fields, all kinds of gyms, libraries, study spaces. Everything is right there. And you are relatively close to downtown Vancouver as well. As you can tell from the image, you can see the mountains, you can see the water. So these are the 2 campuses. Regardless of which campus you choose, your campus life will consist of the academic component, which is the programs of study you choose, anything academics related, and non-academic connections you build, how you find you fit on campus. We help you with all of that. One of the best things you can do for yourself at the very beginning is apply for housing. It's guaranteed for first-year students on both campuses. We have the biggest residential or housing program in Canada. So it's a great place to live, meals are provided, and you start building your community as well. Apart from academics, you can supplement your studies with research, work experience, athletics, clubs, go abroad on an exchange. I will just quickly go through this slide so you can get an idea what you can do. We encourage undergraduate students to do research. You can also get professional work experience, that co-op that Martin mentioned at the very beginning. and work for different companies from Google and to Amazon to small startups to figure out what you want to do with your degree. This is paid experience, so you're considered to be a full-time employee. If you're interested in sports, you can join a varsity team if you're very competitive, which is, if you're like me, I love yoga, that's my sport, you can do this as well. Some other fun things you can do is join clubs, obviously. Some are very professional. That's Student Business Association. They organize a lot of career fairs for their students. Some fun stuff like ski and board and get huge discounts to go skiing in wintertime. You can go abroad on an exchange. We have dual degree programs with some institutions. Hong Kong University has a dual degree with us for business program. Sciences Po in France, if you're interested in international relations. So a lot of things can be done. One thing that I've noticed also on Martine's slide is that she mentioned support systems. We definitely have a lot of those. Very traditional ones like academic support, tutoring, but we have some really non-traditional ones, I would say. This pet therapy session, as we call it, it's called BARC. It helps students release stress before the exam. So they come in, they pet the dogs, they talk to other students. It's a nice breaker for them to start building the community. We measure stress levels of students before they come to the session and after, and obviously after the session. Everybody seems to feel much better. All right, so hopefully you got an idea about our campuses, a little bit of a campus life that you can get. Let's move on to the academics. I know we don't have much time. We have over 261 different programs. They vary from very traditional like arts, business, engineering, science, some that you might not have heard of like forestry, land and food systems, kinesiology. If you know exactly what you want to study, great. If you are struggling to figure out what you want to do. Maybe you have very different interests. You want to do art history and digital media and animation and maybe graphic design. You can study this within a disciplinary degree, like media studies. Or maybe you're interested in international trade, international finances, development. That's international economics. When you apply, you don't need to know right away what you want to study. You need to have a general idea. And when you come to us, we will help you figure out what you want to do. In terms of application steps and deadlines, once you figure out what you want to study, you've completed step one. Then you apply online before January 15th. Within British Columbia, we have a unified online application system for any institution within BC. So if you want to apply to UBC, any other institution in British Columbia, you go through this one system. Once you do that, then you submit the documents, which is your English language proficiency, if that's relevant, and your documents, the transcripts. As far as I know, your school does both IB and A levels, so I just put up those two slides for here. We accept both. We accept different curricula. For IB, we need a full IB diploma. Please check requirements for specific programs, like the type of math you're taking is very important for business degrees or engineering and science. IB as well as A levels will give you first-year credit if you get high enough grades, which is great. For A levels, obviously, we accept those as well. We usually would like to see 3 academic A levels and 3 IGCSEs, or if you didn't do those, we would look at what you did pre-A levels. Same thing, please make sure you check specific program requirements because they vary depending on what you want to study. Overall, we have a holistic approach to application, meaning that we do look at your grades in general. We do look at your grades for specific subjects that are prerequisites for your program. We do look at a personal profile, which is sort of like an essay for us. For some programs like business, there is a video interview. For creative programs, there is usually audition or any other kind of creative component that we need to assess. So we look at all those things to make a decision whether we can admit you or not. In terms of the fees, this is an approximate breakdown. On the website, we have very accurate breakdown dependent on the program, but this is just to give you an idea how much your total fees would likely be for a full academic year. We have scholarships for international students, merit-based entrance awards for which you don't have to apply. There is a one-time award for up to $25,000 a year. There is also a renewable award where you can get up to $25,000 for 4 years of your study. We look at your grades, we look at your personal profile. These are the 2 main criteria. You don't need to apply for this separately. If you apply before January 15th for general UBC admissions, you get accepted. We will consider every international student for those. If you're interested in a full ride scholarship, there is a separate application. The deadline is coming up. It's November 15th. So please talk to your counselor because she will need to nominate you for those. These are much more competitive scholarships, but if you get them, then they can cover up to 100% of all the fees. All right, so I know I talked a lot, but if you can take away just this one slide from the presentation, it would be great. If you decide to come to UBC, you will study in a highly ranked academic institution. You will live in one of the two great places, either Vancouver or Okanagan, and we will encourage you to build your own experience, to learn actively and supplement your studies, your academic studies with things like research and co-op and things like that. If you if you would like to learn more about UBC, please feel free to check our website. We have tours, in-person, virtual. You can go check our social media for sure. If you would like to get more information about UBC, feel free to scan this code. The event, the final kind of bottom field in this form that you need to fill in, just look for UBC visit to Charterhouse. All right, hopefully that wasn't too long. Let's quickly move on to this. Feel free to take a snapshot of this slide as well if you want to connect with me in the future, but your council is well aware of UBC, Canada in general. I'm happy to answer questions as well. All right, hopefully that wasn't too long.
Thank you so much. That was very comprehensive. I think that, yeah, you definitely managed to I think, portray the beauty of British Columbia and the amazing education opportunities that are there. So moving from West Coast, I think we're going to kind of go over the Rockies and over the prairies, and we're going to go straight to the University of Toronto. So we have Sage Wu with us, who works in admissions for the University of Toronto, and I will let her jump straight into more information about U of T.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Martine. And bear with me for 1 second while I share my screen here. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Perfect. Fantastic. So lovely to meet all of you, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and my colleagues to learn more about what Canada can really offer you. And one thing I do want to emphasize, and I know that Martine mentioned this as well, is to really help you find your best fit. All institutions represented here are fantastic, and they offer, including our own, many, many different choices for you. So hopefully you'll be able, after today's session, to really kind of see what benefits and what opportunities we bring to the table, and really figure out what it is that you want to apply to, and maybe apply to all three of our institutions. Now, you'll notice on this slide right here that there is a QR code, so that is a way to get in touch with me after this session. So feel free to take out your phones and then scan that at any given time. Now, I'm going to start very quickly with a very brief video to hopefully give you an idea of what the University of Toronto is like. So I hope you enjoy it.
Like so many celebrated stories, ours is set in a world-class city, follows a fascinating cast of characters, and captures your attention and imagination from the very first page. When you attend the University of Toronto, you become part of the rich, storied history of one of the world's most renowned institutions of higher learning. A haven for ambitious scholars, global leaders, and inspired innovators. Ours is a story of honor, praise, and prestige, almost 2 centuries in the making, where each chapter informs and inspires the next, with characters and plots that propel mankind forward. And as each chapter ends, the next begins, with a blank page, new characters, and boundless possibilities. What chapter will you write?
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. Oh,
I
sorry.
thought I recognized that voice.
Yes. One of the things that we always bring up is asking students and participants whether they do recognize the voice. And we're like, it is Donald Sutherland. So very recognized and renowned alumni from the University of Toronto, and one of hundreds of thousands of individuals that end up going around the world. So a brief summary about the University of Toronto. Similar to my colleagues here, we are very recognized, not just within Canada, but also globally as well. We are a very strong research university, and in pretty much every single major category, we have very strong programs and are consistently recognized among the top institutions in the world. Now, I do want to draw attention to our second point here, where the University of Toronto is a network of unique communities in the heart of one of the most dynamic regions in the world. That is a very packed sentence, and it can mean a whole host of different things. But I do want to emphasize, very similar to what Nadia mentioned, we are considered one of the most international communities in the world, not just as a living community, but also as an institution. At the institution, we are quite large. We're Canada's largest university, spread across 3 campuses. We have over 97,000 students on all 3 campuses, and that's combining undergraduate and graduate, which is quite significant. And international students alone, including undergraduate and graduate, we total about 28,000 students in total from over 170 different countries and regions. So again, very diverse, very international community. We always tell students, when you come to Canada, when you choose an institution like one of the 3 that we have represented here, it's like coming home, because you never have to worry about fitting in. There's always some sort of, familiarity or comfort with the culture, the language, the foods that we have to offer. And the third point about the University of Toronto is that the University of Toronto students can mix and match programs and experiences to build your own personalized degree. No 2 students at U of T will have the exact same experience, and that is due in part to the fact that we offer some of the largest numbers of program choices available to students in an institution. So we offer over 700 undergraduate programs for students to choose from, which actually totals over 10,000 different courses you can take. A lot of times will joke with my students, you can come to U of T, spend the rest of your life here and not make a dent in those 10,000 different courses. So it's a really great way for you to, again, find your best fit, find what it is that really drives your passion, what interests you, what do you want to study, and what do you want to branch out into. And it's a great time for you to really discover your interests, discover new ones in addition to some old interests, and really get an excellent education. Now, I mentioned earlier, we have 3 campuses totaling about 97,000 students, and we get this question quite a lot. Which campus is the best? Now, I'm here to kind of answer a lot of those weird rumors floating around. We are one university with 3 campuses. There is no one campus that is better or worse than the other. And in fact, I can summarize the differences between our campuses in 3 very simple points. The first one is physical location. Now, I also want to take this opportunity to give our land acknowledgement for the University of Toronto, wishing to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. And today, this meeting place is still the home to many of our Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, and we are extremely grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So all 3 of our campuses do fall within the University of Toronto, as well as the traditional lands of our Huron-Wendat, Seneca, and Mississaugas of the Credit. Now, in terms of physical location, our St. George campus is located in the heart of downtown Toronto. It is our founding campus, established in 1827, which makes us almost around 200 years old. If you drive about 30 minutes to the west of Toronto, you will find yourself in the city of Mississauga. Now, it is still part of what we call the Greater Toronto Area, but it is a standalone city and the 6th largest in Canada. If you drive about 30 minutes to the east of Toronto, you'll find yourself in our Scarborough campus, which again is part of the Greater Toronto Area. So 3 distinct standalone locations. All of them are pretty self-contained, and they're, again, very, very unique, and it's all about best fit. What location do you want to study at? The second difference between the campuses, summarized, is size. So whenever I talk about size, there could be 2 different areas that you can define it as. The first one is actual physical footprint. How much acreage is each campus? The St. George campus is like mixed into the urban city lifestyle. It is in the heart of the city. There's no distinct wall that separates the St. George campus from the rest of the city of Toronto, and it takes up about, I would say, around 130 acres of space. Now, Mississauga and Scarborough comparatively are much, much larger, and Mississauga is what we would describe as a more traditional campus feel. So it is a very contained campus, very, very green. There's a lot of like trees, green space. You can see deer wandering campus. In fact, we even named one of our study buildings. It's called Deerfield Hall for a very obvious reason. And the Mississauga campus takes up about around 225 acres. Our campus, Scarborough campus, takes up 300 acres of green space, and it's a really interesting mix of green space as well as urban buildings. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds if you're looking for a city feel, but also a lot of access to nature. Now, the second type of size that I'd like to bring attention to is student population. So even though St. George, the footprint in city center, is the smallest out of all 3 campuses, it's got the largest student population. So it's got about 40,000 students in total on that campus. Comparatively, Mississauga and Scarborough are what we call mid-sized campuses. So Mississauga has approximately 16,000 students, and Scarborough has around 15,000 students. And the third difference between the campuses is very straightforward. It's the programs offered. So hopefully when you are doing your research and then kind of figuring out what programs you are interested in, you'll be able to identify which campus houses the programs that you're interested in. Now, I want to emphasize again, regardless of which campus you go to, we are one university with 3 campuses. You will graduate with the exact same University of Toronto degree, regardless of which campus you are attending, and the quality of education is exactly the same on all 3 campuses. And I have our website there for you to check out a little bit more information about our campuses, and you can even sign up for a virtual tour to see what the campus feels are like. So zooming in a little bit, when you are applying to the University of Toronto, not only will you have to decide which campus or campuses you want to apply to, you will also be looking at your future learning communities. We have 5 major learning communities, arts, business, and science being one giant umbrella. We have our engineering learning community. We have architectural and visual studies. We have kinesiology, which is the study of human motion and physical education, as well as music. Under each of these learning communities, you have a whole ton of different admission categories, and under that you have the hundreds and hundreds of different courses that you can choose from. So you can imagine how big these learning communities are, but it is also a very, very contained environment where you can really bond with different students studying your program, share information about your classes, so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to move away a little bit from our academics because the university is also very well known for areas outside of the classroom. Yes, we are a well-known research university. Our quality of academics is very high, and we have top institutional professors and instructors that are leaders in every single field. But we are also a very career-oriented university. In fact, we rank #1 in Canada and 11th in the world for global employability, which means that our graduates are highly sought after by well-known companies all around the world upon graduation. And this is in part due to the opportunities we provide our students during their study. We have co-op, the traditional co-op at our Scarborough campus. We have professional experience year co-op offered by our Faculty of Engineering. We have the Arts and Science internship program. Regardless of which campus or program or faculty you are part of, you will be able to access a lot of hands-on experience. And we highly encourage students to really take advantage of it. We also have a platform called the Co-Curricular Learning Network, the CLNX, that all U of T students can access at any given time to see what jobs, what volunteer, what internship and externship opportunities there are. So the moment you walk into U of T, we say take advantage of it, sign up for those hands-on opportunities, and really build that experience outside of the classroom, because that ultimately, paired with a well-known and recognized degree, is what's going to ensure that you're going to be able to pursue your master's or PhD, or even get into the career of your dreams in the future. We're also a very international institution, so we have over 170 different institutions we collaborate with all over the world. You could do half your exchanges, fill your exchanges, spend a summer abroad taking a U of T course. So go out, discover the world. Don't just stay all 4 years at U of T, because we do want you to really, truly become global citizens. And of course, our student experiences outside of the classroom, we have hundreds of different student clubs, totaling almost 1,000 actually at this point in time. 24 varsity sports, and also a lot of research. So as a research university, you could do research as early as your second year. And we have had students that have published papers before they've even graduated. And that's really, really helpful for their future pursuits. Now, a little bit about our application process. It's very straightforward, 2 steps only. If you haven't started already, I highly recommend you start the process as soon as possible, because we do have a recommended early application deadline of November 7th, which is in a day. So now this first step is very straightforward. Don't panic. It'll take you 10 minutes because it is biometrics only. If you are planning to apply to more than one university in Ontario, you can use the Ontario University Application Center. If you're only interested in applying to U of T in Ontario, you can use the U of T International Application, and that application gives you a little bit of a discount when you are submitting it. So again, biometrics only. You don't need anything else other than your personal information and what programs you're interested in at this time. In terms of requirements, very straightforward for us. We are merit-based. Grand majority of our programs are looking at your academic history and performance. The higher grades, the more competitive you will be. As a British system student, if you're completing the A-levels, at the time of your application, we are assessing either 5 IGCSEs plus 4 AS levels, or 5 IGCSEs plus 3 A-level predicted scores, or if you have your final scores, that's fantastic. So either or, the higher grades, again, the more competitive you will be. Normally, we suggest nothing below a B, but sometimes our more competitive programs will look for higher grades, particularly engineering, computer science, Raman commerce. Now, some of our programs may ask you for a supplementary application. There are only 11 programs at U of T that do that, but that will show up automatically on your Join platform, which is step 2 of the application. So step 1 is biometrics only, 10 minutes, you send that out. Within a couple weeks, we will give you access to your personal platform at U of T, which is where you will be submitting all of that documentation. Now, key point, unlike the UK and the US, we do not need any personal statements or reference letters. So again, very, very merit-based. IB students, we don't look at the TOK or EE. We are looking for IB diploma students, however, so you still need to successfully complete those. And so we calculate everything out of 42. This 28 is quite low, so don't get too excited too early. But again, the higher your predicted score, the more competitive you will be as an applicant. And do make sure that you have the mandatory prerequisite courses at either the SL or HL level. And we'll hopefully be able to share that information with you through our International Undergraduate Admissions Bulletin. So timeline, again, if you apply early and submit your OUAC application before November 7th and submit all of your documents before December, we actually consider you for our earliest round of admission taking place in February. If you don't get in February, we move you to March. If you don't get in March, we move you to April, so on and so forth. So applying early and submitting all of your required documents early does benefit the number of times you are considered for admission. And of course, so we do have an official application deadline, but I do highly recommend do not wait until that official deadline to apply, because you would then be pushing your application review to a later time. And we also recommend applying for residence. We do have a first-year residence guarantee if you are looking for it. Right now, there's no deposit or anything, so just hold that spot. You can always decide whether or not you want to keep that residence space or release it at a later date. And again, our decisions are released anywhere between February through May. So that summarizes the U of T overview. That again is the QR code that you can use to scan and connect with me directly. And we will be able to share our brochures and more information about the university with all of you. So thank you so much for this time. And I'm going to pass it back to Martine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Without further ado, I will move on to Karen Jabari, who's here from McGill in Montreal. Oh, you're muted.
Of course I'm muted. My apologies for the late delay, getting on. My Zoom needed to be updated and it was a little bit awkward. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Martine. I am sorry that I missed your opening statements. And thank you to everybody for being here. My name is Karen Jabari and I work as a senior admissions officer at McGill University. I'm going to keep this as brief as possible. Martine had asked for a 5 to 6 minute presentation, and I'm very aware that we also want to leave time for all the questions that your students will have. So just very quickly then moving through, I would like to certainly also acknowledge that our lands that we're located on land which has long served as a site of meeting amongst Indigenous peoples, including the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe nations. And we honor, recognize, and respect these nations as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet. So very briefly, putting McGill into perspective, we're located in the province of Quebec, which is the French-speaking province of Canada. Canada being, of course, a bilingual country, Quebec is a unilingual French-speaking province. That said, Montreal, at least the downtown area, is wonderfully multicultural, multilingual, diverse. It's a very exciting city, very student-friendly, certainly one of the safest cities to live in. And any student who is not so comfortable with French really would have no problem living in Montreal, at least the downtown area, and attending the university. Going on from there then, I just want to very briefly present McGill. We were established in 1821, so one of the oldest institutions in North America. It always makes me giggle a bit when I'm presenting in the UK, because of course you have some institutions, high schools in the UK that have walls of headmasters going back to the 1400s, but McGill is older than Canada is a country. Canada became a country in 1867, so definitely we have the ivy-covered older buildings on campus as well, along with many newer builds and, of course, completely updated equipment. As noted, we're an English university in a French-speaking province. As all the universities that have been presenting, we are research intensive. We are a public university, as all universities in Canada. We are a comprehensive university, meaning we offer all levels of degrees. With a total of approximately 39,000 to 40,000 students, we are a large institution, but obviously not one of the largest in Canada. But it means that you have all the services and support possibilities that a large institution can offer you, but because of the way we're set up with faculties and schools, it will feel somewhat smaller as well. We are a very internationally diverse campus, really a reflection of what we have in Montreal as well, with about 30% of our students from over 150 different countries. And one of the things that you might not be so familiar with about McGill is that we actually have two campuses. We have the downtown campus really located in the heart of downtown, and then we have a more rural campus located outside the downtown core, but still on the island of Montreal. With 300 different programs of study for undergraduate students, we certainly have a lot of great options for students to choose from, being able to build in a great deal of flexibility into a program, but also being as focused on a certain discipline as well. And like all our institutions, we offer residence accommodation for any student that is interested in it, and it will be guaranteed for you. The style at McGill is that students will live in res or in halls for the first year and then move off campus into an apartment with friends or on their own. A few photographs from around campus. This is the downtown campus, a couple of streets up from one of our main shopping streets. You're seeing the beauty of it in all the seasons, from winter, and yes, we do have winter in Quebec, to fall and to summertime when students are out, and springtime sitting on the green expanse of Center Campus. You may know that the city of Montreal actually has a mountain or a hill in the middle of the island of Montreal called Mount Royal or Mont Royal, and it serves as a wonderful backdrop to the downtown campus, adding even more green space into this downtown environment. It's a green nature park, which also offers many different walking trails and opportunities for cross-country skiing as well. An aerial view of the campus, you do see the mountain there, and the buildings you see around the perimeter are all McGill buildings. Our other campus, located about 35 kilometers west of the downtown core, so in the countryside, but not overly rural. It is adjacent to a lovely small town on the shores of the St. Lawrence River, so opportunities to go right out into the field for your courses as well. The nature of the programs at the McDonald campus are science-based programs, opportunities for a bit more hands-on teaching, and there's only one faculty offered out there, that is the Faculty of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences, with a focus on environmental sciences, but and a free shuttle bus will run you between the two campuses. Aerial view of the McDonald campus, so you see that it is well populated, but still also has a bit more of a rural feel. Martine does know this location very, very well, I believe, right, Ms. Gagnon? As all the universities have spoken to, McGill is no different, so I'm not going to go into great detail. Lots of opportunities to enhance your academic program via internships, study abroad opportunities, definitely opportunities for research at the undergraduate level. Larger universities, so there's plenty of ways to get involved in terms of student clubs and associations. And then we also have, I'm sorry, go back one slide. We also, of course, have plenty of student services there to support you as well in your journey through the university and through your degree. Just a note about McGill is that we are a very independent institution, and we believe the students are independent. We will not necessarily approach you if you need some support. It is up to you to be able to advocate for yourself and go out to access the services that are there, but they will definitely support you during your studies at McGill. So many different program choices for you on campus, and I'm not going to go through them, but it's the possibility to build a lot of diversity into your academic program at the undergraduate level. But if you prefer the European British model, then it's also definitely possible to be much more focused in on a specific subject. For instance, if you wanted to do economics, you can do a very liberal arts type program by doing a major concentration in economics. Then you would have to pick up a minor in a different area of study. Could be within the Faculty of Arts, but it could also be in science or management. But if you prefer the European UK model and want to be more focused in, then you could certainly do honors in economics as well. There is no direct admission to medicine, dentistry, and law, but that is true for North America. A little bit how we review for admission, and again, very similar to what you've already heard. We will always review you on the curriculum that you're completing, and then you are required to have specific prerequisite subjects by program. The information on that is listed on our website, so when I get to the slide, I won't spend too much time on it. Deadline dates as well are on our website. And your counselor is very familiar with the admission process as well. And so she is able to respond to your questions that are on that. But we use something called Minerva, which is our online administrative portal. And I do want to give you a heads up that it's so important to check Minerva regularly. It is how we communicate with you. It is also where you will see a decision on your file. And if it is an offer of admission, then that is where you will also find your official offer letter. Just going back to the application for admission, that is found through our website, deadline of January 15th, and there's room for 2 application choices, and we review those 2 choices equally. There is no first or second choice. So we're going to be looking at you on the school transcripts that your school provides. And in the UK, these can be take a different format. We will certainly be reviewing GCSE results. We'll need the predictions for A-level, for IB, any other external exam results. If you were perhaps in a curriculum prior to A-level that was not GCSEs, that's fine, but you need to upload the transcripts from your previous curriculum that you were following in the country that you were in. And that is how we review you. If you're at a school where you do have some internal grades for your A-level or IB course of study, and you can submit those termly reports along with the predictions and the GCSE results, excellent. If you don't have GCSEs and you've lived outside of the UK in a non-English speaking country, then of course proof of English proficiency will be required at some point. Scholarships are also available, again, merit-based. We also offer an entrance bursary program, which is entering financial aid for students that require a bit of additional assistance. And all of this is available equally to domestic and to international students. We will grant credits for your A-level and IB studies. So you will be coming, for the most part, entering a program that is equivalent to a English program, so a 3-year program. But again, that is dependent on your final outcome, so your final results and the program that you're entering. Always great to visit. Just Google McGill University tours and you'll come up with that, or take a quick snapshot of this screen if you're able to, but your counselor also has the links. And thank you very much, and very happy to answer questions at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I think that was a really, really great kind of view of 3 of the strongest universities in Canada. Let's open up to the Q&A. So I do see a bit of a kind of a general sense here of students kind of wondering, so, okay, we've got the A-levels or we have IBs. What scores are you really looking for? So does anyone want to, or does everyone want to kind of give an idea? Are there cutoffs? Are there grades required to be competitive?
I can go. Oh, sorry. It's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that that's a good question. We never know in advance where we're going to cut, and our previous year's cutoffs are listed on our website.
Thank you. Nadia, what were you going to say?
We don't have a magic number. I know everybody wants a magic number. If I have this, will I get in? Historically, we can provide for sure like historic data. Again, it depends on the programs. Say business, engineering, science are usually some of our most competitive programs. And for IB, it would be high predicted 30s that are competitive. But again, we have a holistic approach. So for us, a personal profile also matters. Obviously, try as high as you can. For A-levels, a mix of A's and B's is what usually is proven to be competitive, but again, it varies by the program, but hopefully that gives you at least some idea.
Great. And Sage at U of T?
Yeah, so very similar to Nadia. We don't have a magic cutoff number. In fact, every single year that competitive range shifts based on the programs that the students are applying to, as well as the number of students that are applying and their academic performance. Our rule of thumb is generally the higher your scores, the more competitive you'll be. Historically, looking at past applicants for some of our most competitive programs like engineering, computer science, Rotman Commerce, we're looking at high 30s, low 40s out of 42. And the sciences, mid to high 30s approximately. And then generally we recommend aiming for like at least a 30 or and above if you want to be considered a competitive applicant. Now, some programs do have that supplementary application. So for example, engineering engineering, Rotman Commerce, computer science, any of our professional faculties do have a additional supplementary application where we're looking for more than the student's academic performance. So depending again on the program that the student's applying to, we are looking at different things, but generally as long as you're maintaining strong academic performance across the board, we will definitely consider you. And same thing goes with, very similar again to what Nadia mentioned for the British system, the A levels, generally nothing below a B. For some of our more competitive programs, nothing below an A.
Great, thank you. So I'm aware, I know that Karen at McGill has another event after this. So we've got one question here for McGill, if you wouldn't mind. So the typical length of a degree program in Canada. So can you talk to McGill, and does study abroad add a year? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes. So you were saying the typical length of a degree?
Yes.
At McGill, so in North America would be 4-year, 120 credit degree is basically how we speak at our universities. With advanced standing credit at McGill for the IB diploma, for A levels, for French bac, European bac, many credentials, we will grant up to 30 credits, bringing the degree length to 3 years or 90 credits. It is dependent on the program the student is entering. Engineering is much more subject specific, so there's less opportunity to grant transfer credit, but certainly somebody entering the Faculty of Education, Arts, Management, Science would receive just about all, or if not all, those, the number of credits that we can grant. And so it's always based on final results as well. We need a 5 or better on the IB higher level subjects. We need to see a C or better on A levels, but again, we're admitting at a much higher level than that. So I don't expect any student to have senioritis or take their foot off the pedal and expect that they're going to be continuing in that way. Yes, and I have a couple more minutes, but I do apologize that I need to leave. I think the presentation was until 6, so, but I do have these other plans. But just going back a little bit, I was very quick about answering about our cutoffs, but while we never know in advance, going to the website to have a look to see where we cut last year gives a really good idea for the programs that the student might be interested in. It'll give you an idea of where we cut last year. We don't vary too much. Grades could go up. I can say that for this coming year, they probably will not. I think we are at a good level for all of the programs that are listed. So it will give you a ballpark idea of where you would need to aim for in terms of overall results for the IB and also for A levels. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, Nadia and Sage, can you talk to U of T and UBC in terms of length of degree and perhaps credit for A levels and IB?
Yes, very similar to what Karen said. Yes, it is a 4-year degree. Usually, I would say that engineering degree might take a little bit longer because it is more rigorous. It's way more than 120 credits, depending on the program. I think some of them can reach even up to 139, 140-ish. But yes, both IB and A levels can grant students first-year credit. And depending on how many of those you get, you can considerably shorten the duration of your degree. In my experience, I've been at UBC for 6-ish years. I've seen a couple of times the student would get almost the first year covered, but this is an exception, I would say, rather than a rule of thumb. So most times, again, depends, like with A levels, students usually take 3 A levels, right? With IB, there is a little bit more courses, so a little bit more chances to get first year credit, but that depends again on the final grade. I wouldn't count on the fact that you will finish it in 3 years, like it's more likely within 4 years, but for sure, if you get first year credit, your first year can at least be less intense in terms of the course load, just because you got those first year credits. If you had a co-op, it will prolong the duration of your degree, because during the co-op, students do not study. You're still considered to be a student, but you do go and work full-time. You cannot combine full-time work with full-time studies. So if you do that, then that's the case. For study abroad, usually depends on if you plan it well. It's not supposed to extend the duration of your studies, because the institutions we work with, the credits you take there go back to UBC degree. But again, it's very beneficial for you to go to our Go Global office early rather than later, so you can plan the degree in a way that, you know, you don't add any more time.
Great. And Sage at U of T.
Great. So in terms of the credits, so we calculate credits a little bit differently here at the University of Toronto. For the grand majority of our programs, we need 20 credits in order to graduate. So the easiest way to think about it is if you're taking one course for one academic year, that's 1 credit. On average, students will take around 5 credits per year, leading up to a 4-year degree. Now, some students, if they do want to kind of accelerate that, they do have the choice of taking credits during the summer, increasing their course load. And as Nadia mentioned earlier, students are eligible for transfer credit if you're completing the IBHL or A levels. So we do have that assessment when you are admitted to the University of Toronto, and then you'll be told how many credits you will be eligible for, and it's up to the student to decide if you want to accept those credits to, again, accelerate the time that you need to graduate. Now, if a student does participate in a professional experience year, co-op, it depends again on the model of that hands-on experience, because some of our programs with the embedded co-op model, which is our traditional Scarborough co-op model, that does not extend the amount of time needed to study. But if you are, for example, participating in our engineering's professional experience year, you're essentially leaving the university for a full year or a little bit more of full-time work. And the same thing as what Nadia was mentioning, you can't mix full-time studies with full-time work. You would be working full-time and then coming back to the university for your 4th and final year. So again, it is quite flexible depending on the student's individual choices, but we're very straightforward in terms of our graduation requirements. As long as you meet all the graduation requirements, credit requirements, you can graduate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I'm aware of time kind of slipping out of our fingers here. So I think we'll answer one final question, and then I will set everybody free for the morning, evening. Sage, I'm aware it's quite late for you as well. So, so there was one question here, and it was kind of about how students can find out if maths is required for certain programs. So for example, economics, and how can students find, you know, where should they be looking on websites to see what their options are and what prerequisites they'll need? Sage, do you want to start, please?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So on our website, so the website is future.utoronto.ca. On that website, there is a selection where you can see our different brochures and resources available for our students. So as part of that brochure, there's listed next to each program the mandatory prerequisite courses. Pretty much rule of thumb, any engineering program, any business program, any science program does require a math prerequisite. So the math prerequisite should be either AS or A-level math, or for the IB programs, you're looking at minimum AIHL or AASL or HL. So one of those 3 IB courses. And some of our social science programs may, a good example is economics, for example, may require our math prerequisite. So the best thing to do is to do research and to download our brochures, take a look at the programs listed and the mandatory prerequisite courses listed for each of those individual programs, because they do vary depending on the program. And with 700 undergraduate programs, the variance does spread out across a large range.
I remember someone once told me that in Canada, you can kind of look at whether it's a BA, so a Bachelor of Arts, or a BSc, a Bachelor of Science. And if you're doing, for example, like a BA in psychology, you don't need the math. But if you're going for the BSc in psychology, then you would. Is that a good rule of thumb for students to follow?
In general, yes, I think in Canada as a whole, U of T, like in terms of psychology, because it's only offered as a science program, we don't run into that little bit of a complication. But I would say the easiest, and the easiest way, truthfully, is to really kind of assess. There's also different types of programs like you've mentioned, right? And ultimately, if a student is, let's say, double majoring, one in science, one in arts, the fact that they are pursuing a science degree will likely require them to have that math prerequisite, as you've mentioned. So like, it's all, again, about the combination, which courses, which programs that they're planning to take, and making sure that they have the necessary grade 12 or prerequisite courses in order to be able to continue taking those courses at the undergraduate first year level.
Brilliant. And Nadia, any final words on that?
Yes, pretty much the same system. So I would encourage students to go to our website, you.ubc.ca. They can choose their curriculum. So if they're doing IB or if they're doing A-levels, and then also filter the search by the program. Say, I think the question was specifically about economics degrees. You can do Bachelor of International Economics. You do need math for that, but you can do, as you mentioned, Martine, Bachelor of Arts and study economics within that. Then you don't need math requirement. So the best thing to do is just go to the website and check requirements, because they're very, very specific and clear cut.
Fantastic. Well, very wise final words. So thank you so much. And thank you to our audience. I know we've overrun a little bit. If you have any questions at all, of course, please do get in touch with the wonderful university representatives from each of the institutions. For those of you based in the UK as well, you can also get in touch with me. My email address is martine@ueseducation.com. For those of you who are at Charterhouse, I'm on the USA College at Charterhouse email address. For those of you at Weatherby, you can find me on Teams under my name, Martine Gagnon. So yeah, thank you again so much. And I feel like in true Canadian fashion, I need to say merci beaucoup à tout le monde et bonne soirée. Thank you very much. And I also feel like I need to apologize for something.
This is a very Canadian way of doing things.
Exactly. Bilingual and with an apology. Thank you so much to Sage from the University of Toronto, and to Nadia from the University of British Columbia. And thank you to Karen from McGill, who had to duck out sooner. Have a lovely evening, and à bientôt.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.